Now, wasn't that something? A classic, if you will. Uh, Good afternoon, or I guess it's still morning. Good morning. I'm still drinking my tea here. Um,
You got some tea for us today?
I do some spooky tea.
Some
But
spooky tea.
before we get into the spooks, what are your plans for today? Considering it's Halloween and everything.
Take a nap.
Just nap all day? Come on. You're not doing anything spooky? I mean, I guess coronavirus is hella spooky,
Spooky
but
enough.
yeah, but come on, there must be something.
Um, I got chores I gotta do. I usually do
Mm.
all my chores on Saturdays, so I can just have Sundays completely to myself.
Yeah, I
Uh,
have a few chores as well.
Adulting, isn't it delightful? I'd rather go trick-or-treating.
When was the last time you trick or treated, actually?
Last time I trick-or-treated, I think I was maybe 13. I think that sounds right.
Right?
Um, I don't know, because it's like I haven't really been able to do anything really Halloweeny for several years.
Right, right, right.
Um, I worked retail for 3 years
Yeah.
and I was on stock, so I couldn't really get really fun and very creative because I was usually the one having to pick up and carry things really heavy for everybody. Um, then I worked at a call center and I did a little something interesting. I have like a little Batman shirt that has a little cape, and I'd wear that on Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I work in a warehouse now where it's like I touch something wrong and I could just ruin whatever I'm wearing.
Right, yeah. So scary.
I was about to say the warehouse we work in is extremely scary. We should
It's
just turn it into a
terrifying.
haunted house
I
for
mean,
the
it would
week of
work.
Halloween.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was haunted. It was made in what, like the 70s, even before then?
65, I think.
Yeah. Could be haunted. We'll never know.
I need it's haunted with a teeny black cat that screams.
That's true. I know
All
we
she does
actually
is
do have a black
scream.
cat. It's not a ghost. Her name is Ninja, and we love her so.
Like, she screams. She come
She
in, she
screams a
screams.
lot. She screams. She screams real loud.
Very tiny.
So I'm super excited because usually during Halloween there is a convention that they often change the dates around October, but a lot of
Yeah.
times it would fall on Halloween. However, this year there are no conventions that I can go to because coronavirus, which honestly, it just breaks my heart. You know, I just want to freaking have fun,
Socialize, go hang out with
socialize,
friends.
wear cosplay and things that are not just Halloweeny, but still have fun. But alas, I am going to make the most of this Halloween. I plan to um, drunk stream tonight a horror game
Ooh.
because I am a fucking wimp.
Little bitch
I am a bitch baby. I will straight up
baby is what you
say
is.
I am a straight up bitch baby. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with admitting that because that is what I am.
Fair,
Um,
fair.
yeah. What else? Oh, and my husband and I are gonna watch some spooky, scary stuff today. And then I know I was invited to a like costume party. However, I
Oh
might
yeah.
just sit in and just do spooky things instead. I'm gonna be drunk anyway, so honestly. Oh, and a friend of mine is getting married on Halloween today.
Yay!
Yeah, so spooky. So I'm gonna
So
watch
spooky.
that as well when it comes on. It's gonna be
Um,
heckin' spooky. This day is filled today. I'm so excited. Oh, also, I know this is Halloween. This is important. I still got time. The freaking new Mystery Skulls
Mystery
video
Skulls
is
installment.
tonight.
Yes!
And the sad thing
Tonight,
is I have to
8
wait.
p.m. Central Time.
I was gonna
8
say
p.m. Central Time.
I'm watching a wedding at that time, so I would have to wait a little bit.
I mean, you could have
I know.
like
No,
they're
I want
not
to
paying attention to
focus.
you, so you could
No.
absolutely watch it.
No, I want to focus on them, and then
Uh,
I'll watch it later. It'll just be a few minutes, before the hype gets real. I'm telling you, today is like fully packed.
It is. It is.
Everyone's doing things today.
And
Like,
like it's like today has actually surprisingly turned out better than I was expecting for something in the middle of the fucking global pandemic.
that's true.
So we are getting like a lot of good things today.
I know. I'm excited, I guess, considering that we do have to make our own fun,
Mm.
and that's what sucks. But I'm sure we'll. It's good. Like, I feel like today's gonna be really fun because a lot of people love Halloween. And it's interesting to see how many people like love Halloween. Halloween is their favorite time of year. But we're gonna jump in, I guess, and talk about some spooky, scary stories. And I have
Let's-
the perfect sounds, ambiance for our scary stories. Check it
Set
out.
the mood.
I'm gonna set the mood.
But you did remind me, it's like watching something spooky. I'm like, oh yeah, I could go start watching The Haunting of Bly Manor while it's daylight.
Oh, I can't watch that by myself.
I'll watch it with you.
Ugh.
I promise I won't try and scare you too much.
No, Jack does that already. He does that. He thinks it's fun. All right, spooky sounds on. I'm so excited. So, for this podcast, we are going to say some spooky experiences that we've had, as well as some actual like ghost stories that we've heard growing up. We live in the South, so of course in the South there are a lot of scary stories, spooky stories, but I'm really excited to share the stories that are kind of close to home for me.
Right.
Because they're like, stories you hear when you grow up, and now you're not sure if they're real or not, and you kind of don't want to fuck with those spirits and all that.
Yeah.
I ain't about that.
I am very excited for one story that we both will end up sharing, and enlightening our viewers to it and more information about it. But that can wait for a minute.
Okay, so do you want me to start then? I'll start with one story that I have already up.
Yeah, I was about to say the one that I've been telling you about, that it's just like, oh yeah, it's complete, it's all this. I would like to save that one for the very end or closer towards the end.
Okay.
And my mom actually did give me names for that.
Yo, okay, good. Okay, so
Please start.
I was about to say, before I jump in, I should say that this is not spooky because I'm reading it from a Wikipedia page. But I know of this ghost in Alabama because my sister actually went to the college there. And they call her the Red Lady in Huntington College in Montgomery, Alabama. Apparently, there are 2 Red Ladies. However, I only know of one. Her name is Martha, which is the most common one. So, Martha was a former student, or Margaret, I guess, depending on the source, who had reluctantly come to Huntington from New York because her father's mother had attended Huntington when it was in Tuskegee, and his will specified that she must attend his mother's alma mater, which sucks. Like, I mean, of course you don't want to be forced to go, but Martha, whatever. Martha did not especially want to come to Alabama, and for good reason. Alabama is just... But anyway, but her father's fortune was large, and she knew his deep love for his home state. Martha, according to legend, was dressed in red when she arrived, and she brought with her red draperies from her windows and a red spread for her bed, together with other accessories of the same color. Although many of her fellow students asked her to explain her apparent obsession with the color red, Martha always demurred. And that's what I heard too. She decked out her room in red. Like, I thought it was like a red room. No, it's just red stuff. So being a stranger and shy, as well as unhappy in her unfamiliar surroundings, Martha could not make friends among the students. They sensed that she was different from them, and having heard she was wealthy, they mistook her shyness for disdain. Martha sat alone and apart from them in the dining hall, which I like. It's interesting to read because I know where all of these are, these places, and seldom spoke to her roommate. When other girls dropped in for a visit, she seemed, because it was an all female institution at the time, um, she seemed so cold and unfriendly that they eventually stopped coming. Truthfully, many of them had only come out of curiosity to see the red prayer rug that Martha had brought in from Turkey and the odd little red figurines on her bookshelves. Martha's roommate, according to Wyndham's story, ultimately found the situation unbearable and asked the house mother if she could move out. The house mother granted this request and put someone else in the room with Martha, who became increasingly aloof and irritable. The second girl also left after only 1 week. This procedure happened again and again as one roommate after another found it impossible to live with the surly girl. At last, the president of the dormitory, who was known for her ability to get along with everybody, moved in with Martha and did everything she could to make friends with her. But all efforts were futile. Martha had become embittered as well as withdrawn, and she seemed to resent the presence of this kind-hearted girl. After all her efforts at friendship had failed, and after she found herself growing depressed and despondent, the dormitory president packed her belongings and prepared to leave. Just as she was about to go, Martha, who had not known of her imminent departure, returned to the room. With a look of defiance, she said, again according to Wyndham's story, "So you can stand me either, like all the rest of you stuck-up friends. I am beginning to think you really wanted me to be your friend, but you hate me just like the rest. Well, I'm glad to be rid of you. Take your things and go. But I'll tell you one thing, my dear. For the rest of your life, you'll regret leaving this room." The house president was disturbed by this bitter outburst, but in the midst of her many activities, she soon forgot about Martha's prophetic words. So, the sad girl, abandoned by the only person she had believed to be her only friend, which was the dorm president, allegedly formed the habit of wandering into rooms where other girls were congregating, but her presence cast a chill upon the groups, and they would soon find flimsy excuses for leaving her alone. Then, with a feeling of alienation from humankind, she would return to her solitary sleeping quarters, where she would wrap herself in her red bedspread and retreat from the world. Later, Martha's behavior allegedly became even more strange. She would wait until the lights were out, and then she would visit one dorm after another, never saying a word, but staring into space as she were in a trance. As time passed, she looked up and down the halls during the darkest hours of the night. Often she would alarm the girls by opening and closing the doors, then hurrying away to resume her pitiful promenade. And then, her downfall. One evening, after Martha had not appeared for class or meals all day, her former roommate, the dormitory president, had a guilty feeling and decided to go see her. Thinking that this time she might be able to help Martha in some way, as she neared Martha's room, at an isolated corridor at the top of the floor of the building, she is said to have noticed flashes of red shooting out into the corridor from the room's transom. Opening the door, she screamed and fainted. Girls from all over the fourth floor of Pratt Hall, which is the dorm, rushed from their rooms to see what was wrong. Martha, or so the story goes, was found on the floor of her room, dressed in her red robe and draped in her red bedspread, having committed suicide by slashing her wrists. This happened a long time ago, according to Wyndham, but students at Huntington College have alleged that on the date of Martha's suicide each year, rays of crimson light flashes down from the transom of her room, and the Red Lady returns to haunt the corridors of Pratt Hall. Students have allegedly reported seeing Martha's ghost on Pratt Hall's fourth floor, claiming to have it pass through the walls or closed doors. And that is the story of the Red Lady. Now, I'll pause the spooky sounds. I've heard that she's hung herself. I've heard that she's, done other methods of suicide. But it is true. She actually did make a friend, or a friend, quote unquote. But when the friend had to leave, I thought it was because she left to a new school. But when her friend left, Martha fell into a very deep, deep depression, and that's what happened. Like, because she had no other friends, you know. But yeah, that is the story. And I used to go, excuse me, I used to go to Huntington College every year in the summer because we had a program, like a, what was it, a conference that we'd go to every year. And the young people would stay in Huntington College, you know, and it would actually, they would entice the students to come and, you know, what was it, study there because it is a Christian college, you know? And so they're like, oh, you study in Huntington College, but beware, there are ghosts. And I'm like, ghosts? Excuse me? Are you, what? And then they
Mhm.
were the ones who, I remember we were sitting outside. And of course, it's the students of Huntington College who were like, okay, this is the story of the Red Lady. You know, it was like a student just like you, if you want to be, um, who committed suicide. And you can see her from the window. Like, you can see a glance of her on the window. Or sometimes her room would just turn red. And I'm like, okay, first of all, nothing against Marta. I'm pretty sure she would love to be as popular as she is now, but back then, but I was pretty sure like they used like red light bulbs or stuff like that, you know. I don't know. But
So easily explained away.
easily. However, because like how else would you explain the red flashes and all that stuff? But there are actual people who really think they saw the ghost even before they knew the story, which is interesting. We refused. I remember we refused to sleep in Pratt Hall. We're like, no, we're not doing that. No. I don't know if it's Pratt Hall has been changed into a different kind of building. I don't know if it's still a dorm or not. Um, but I remember we were like, no, we're not staying in Pratt Hall. Hell no. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. They spooked us real good. Because like it's chilling. It's an old school. Like it's a very old school with rich history.
I think I remember hearing about Huntington College um back when I was like somewhere between like 8 and 13 years old. I met like obviously a college age person and they were telling us ghost stories about it. Um
Mm.
I don't know, and they told us several different ghost stories from around like the southeast and stuff. And
Yeah.
I think when it came to the Red Lady, one of the allegations is that Martha or the Red Lady, because clearly there are a couple of variations to the Red Lady,
Yeah.
um, would actually hold pillows over people's faces in the night.
Oh, no, I haven't heard of that.
Right. Um,
I do
and it
know.
would
Go ahead.
press down on them, but
Oh,
not long enough for anyone to get seriously hurt, but definitely long enough to freak people out.
interesting.
But it,
Interesting.
uh, but again, I was like somewhere between 8 and 13 years old. There was a bunch of kids my age. This was clearly a
Right.
college age student telling us, these younger kids. So they probably just maybe have hammed it up a little bit to give us a scare.
Probably. And like it's interesting cuz like that is one of the well-known ghosts in Alabama is the Red Lady. And I mean like I can see why she's well known. It's a very old school, like a very very old school.
Hmm.
So, yeah, I can see why it's well known.
Yeah.
Anyway, that is my story. I actually have other stories, but nothing with like ghosts or anything. But that's my first story of one of the ghosts of Alabama that I. Well, there's another one you're going to mention later, but that's one that I also know of. So,
Yes.
would you? Do
Um,
you have a spooky, scary story?
I do, but do you want to talk about school hauntings for a second and how that's a little bit of a trope in Alabama and in the Southeast?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it's just Alabama. I'm pretty sure every student thinks that their school is
Right.
haunted. I will say, my old middle school, it was a building that was 99 years old. It was
Ooh.
reaching, I think it was like a month or so before its month or a week, or it was just very close
Hmm.
before its 100th anniversary. And we all thought this building is haunted because it's over, like, it was almost 100 years old. And it was going to be labeled as an, what do you call it?
Oracle site.
Yeah, historical site.
Yeah.
However, again, I think it was a month or a week before, it burned down. Like, it never reached its 100-year mark. So it burned down. We don't know how.
Ew.
Yep.
Was it ghost?
I was like, it's ghosts, man. They don't want to. They're
It's
like, nah,
ghost.
man, I'm done. I don't want to stay here even longer. Are you kidding me?
We're
Set the place
moving.
in for
Light it on fire.
So we moved into a brand new, because like that was my middle school, and then the high school is located behind the middle school, and the high school was brand new, like brand new, and I was like, okay, well, now there's nothing haunted. We could haunt the place, but there's nothing really scary about a brand new school. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's just like, well, that's the only old school that would be super scary. Super scary. But yeah.
I actually remember some of like the alleged ghost stories in my elementary school.
Should I put
There
the spooky ambience? All right. Go.
you could give it a little bit of a spooky ambience.
Spooky ambience. Go.
So my elementary school wasn't exactly like a standard geometric shaped school. So it wasn't like a square or rectangle or anything like this. It had like a main central area that had like, what was it? The offices and the cafeteria and the music rooms and library and things like that. And then off of that were kind of like directions or arms that had like there was an entire section for the kindergarten area. There is a section for first through third grade or first through second grade, something like that. And then the final arm had like everything else up to fifth grade.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I remember one of the stories for like the central part where the lobby is and the main offices are. Someone had, and again, this is an elementary school, so I don't know how the fuck like grown-ass adult ghosts are supposed to be haunting this place.
Right.
Because they weren't
Teachers, if you
kids.
want
It was weird that it's just like, oh, like an adult. These are adult ghosts. These aren't like kids ghosts.
Right.
An adult ghost or an adult had jumped off the single story area that was probably a max of like maybe 20 feet from ground to roof.
Yeah.
Someone had jumped off there and killed themselves. I don't know how. Thinking back as an adult, I'm like, you can fuck yourself up at that height, but you'd be really hard pressed to actually kill yourself from that height. That would roam the roof. It wouldn't really roam the inside, or allegedly roam the inside of the school. It would roam the roof, and it haunted the roof.
Interesting.
Another one was on the older kids' side, so up to the 5th grade point.
Right.
And then those arms were multiple levels. So there was a underground or a base level, a mid level, and then a top level.
Yeah.
And we had elevators between those floors, 3 floors, and those 2 major arms that weren't in the kindergarten section. And that a ghost haunted that elevator for whatever fucking reason. We didn't have a reason. It's just a ghost haunted it. Like I said, elementary school students, really innovative. Really.
I mean, you want to make it seem like your school is cool because it's haunted, and also
it's haunted.
to prevent the cowards from coming in the middle of the night, you know? Because I was a coward and I was like, I ain't going to school. Are you kidding me? Heck no, there's ghosts in there.
Well, we would have like different events. Like I know that there were a lot of like the school was actually really cool because they had like a lot of after school events and activities. There was a chess club for many years. There were Girl Scout troops, multiple Girl Scout troops. I think we finally did get a daisy. So it is started with brownies when I was in like first grade. So brownies is the second level of Girl Scouts.
Yeah.
And we had juniors, which are the next step up. By the time I was a junior and left in 5th grade, we finally got the daisies, which is the starter of Girl Scouts
Right.
for the kindergartners. So we had all different kinds of like afternoon, evening, late activities. And I will admit, I did see that elevator move by it,
Oh, heck no.
supposedly by itself, but it was half glass, half solid. So everything below was like on the lower half was solid, so you could easily duck down and hide.
Right. Oh shit.
And you can slip out and move around and stuff. Without anyone really noticing you. Because it wasn't the floors, it was kind of offset, so the ground floor let out one direction, the mid floor let out the other way, and the top floor let out the same way as the ground floor. So people could slip in and out between the top floor and the ground floor. Middle floor would never really notice.
Yeah.
But yeah, and like there was one more. I don't remember where this one was or what it did or what it was supposed to be haunting, but you know, every school's supposed to have its ghost.
Yeah, everyone. I mean, it's so funny to think about. I remember we had a lock-in in elementary school. Again, so we had a lock-in in elementary school, and the elementary school I went to was very small because it was from like K4 all the way to, or like pre-K all the way to 12th grade. That's how small it was. And it was just built in one long hallway, you know? So we're like, we'll just do a lock-in. And it was our volleyball team who did this. So we cleaned up this special area behind the stage. And I swear, I thought that stage was haunted because there was some really old stuff we found back there, right? But there was like a spare room that you go upstairs from behind the stage where, you know, people can use for lights and like all of that for theater. However, it was empty. No one used it because we don't have enough money for theater or anything like that.
Yeah.
So we used it as our volleyball room. I wonder if it's still there. We painted it. We wrote our names on it. All of that. It's old now. I wonder if the kids think that's haunted. You know, new kids. Anyway, so we had a lock-in and we sat in the middle of the gym. I have never seen that school so spooky. And again, it was a small school. So scary being at night locked in. And what did we do? Again, this is a Christian school, but what did we do? We talked ghost stories. We were telling each other scary stories in the middle. And of course, our teacher, like our volleyball coach, our teacher, she was the one who was sitting there telling some of the scary stories of the school. And I'm like, as scary as it was so fun. You know, it's those memories that you're like, oh, it's amazing. It's so fun. However, we were all huddled together in case one got picked off, you know, to be with those ghosts. We were all like sleeping together in that room that we made, and we're like, okay, no ghosts can take us now, right? Right? It was terrifying, but it was so fun. I remember that, and I do remember there was like some weird ghosts. She said that would was it old teachers is what she said that would wander the halls of the school, and I'm like, okay, I believe it. I believe it. Because that school was ancient, at least to me, you know. It was just very, very old. But yeah, I think every school has some quote-unquote ghosts that the teachers say, you know, or speak about. So
teachers or students it's passed down from seniors to juniors and things like that.
Oh, yeah. So here's a question for you. Have you personally had to deal with any spirits or ghosts or demons
No.
or witches or anything like that?
Uh, no, I do know some witches. And they've never done ill harm to me.
Yeah.
Um, I don't think I'm one of those people that can actually see ghosts or experience
Mm.
ghosts. I have been to Savannah, Georgia several times with my family, and the first time I went was with my dad. My dad took me and my little sister on a Girl Scout trip to Savannah, and we went on a haunted ghost tour. We got to see all different locations that allegedly had ghosts and stuff.
Yeah. Those
Um,
ghost tours and stuff.
It's really cool.
I know.
That
I
was a
love
really,
those.
really cool one. They gave us a badge to put, like, because again, it was a Girl Scout thing. They gave us a badge to put on our vest or sash or whatever that
Right.
said, I survived the haunted ghost tour of Savannah."
How
Um,
cute. How cute.
so it's like they'd have conferences there because my mom's a teacher, so she'd go over to there and have
Right.
conferences, and we would go with her, especially if it's over the summer, and we would just wander around Savannah. And my dad has told me that he has seen people like sitting on a bench 1 second and he'll look back and they're nowhere to be
Oh,
found.
heck no. Oh, heck no.
And this is supposed to be like broad daylight and stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't think I am one of the people that will ever firsthand experience a ghost.
Mm-hmm.
But I do watch like a lot of like, what is it, Ghost Hunters and Ghost
Yeah.
Adventures and things like that, and I'm like, bruh, that orb was a fucking dust bunny. Leave
That's
that orb
what I
alone.
thought.
That
I
ain't
was
no orb.
thinking about
And then
that.
it's like,
Right.
oh, okay, that orb might be something. That's acting a
Right.
little sus. That orb's really. So it's like secondhand things like that. Yeah, but I'm like, me directly, I don't think I ever will. The only thing I could claim was possibly ever a ghost was that elevator.
Oh yeah. But still, that's terrifying. I have a quote unquote ghost story, or at least I thought it
Ooh.
was a demon. I thought it was the scariest thing in the world.
Ooh.
All right, spooky sounds up. All right, we're
Spooky
good.
sound.
Spooky sounds.
Yeah.
So it was the night of my 19th birthday. So I literally just turned 19. It was, I think, maybe 2 a.m. on my birthday, right? I was in college in my dorm. And the way that my dorm was, it was an old dorm, I should say. It was a very old dorm that they tore down, by the way, but that's fine. It was a very old dorm, and my roommate was there next to me. So I was asleep and I woke up. I couldn't move. Like, I've never experienced this before. And I don't think I've ever experienced it again, but like, I've never experienced this before. I couldn't move. People say that's sleep paralysis, right? And people who have sleep paralysis would see things, you know, because your brain is
Hallucinate?
technically not awake. But when I couldn't move, I didn't see anything sitting on my chest or anything. I just could not move. I couldn't speak. I was terrified. I was praying because in the corners of my room, because I slept next to a window and there was light that came through. In the corners of my room, I did see a dark figure. And it was kind of like gnarled, tall, and it had horns. And it would, every time I tried to look away or like close my eyes or do something, he would be like it would be right there. It terrified me. I was like, oh God, this is a fucking demon. I'm going to die. And I was like, Lord, help me. I don't want to go out on my 19th birthday like this, dying from fear. You know, I was like, good Lord. But I still remember it was a black figure. It was just a shadow. But I could see it because, you know, the light and everything. And everywhere my eyes darted, I would see him. And it was like he was coming closer, or, you know. So I was like, oh God, this is how I go. So I closed my eyes. I'm like, God, please just put me back to sleep. Like, end me now so I don't have to feel no pain. I was like praying. I was like, this is it. on my 19th, telling my mom I love her, all this stuff. So I closed my eyes and I'm like, wake up, wake up, wake up, because I thought it was a dream, but it's sleep paralysis. It's not a dream. You're just, you're
Yeah.
science. But I didn't know this at the time. I was absolutely terrified. So I was like, wake
Yes.
up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. And so I finally, like, I guess my brain connected with my body because I woke up and I sat up and I'm like, oh, hell nah. Nah, nah, nah. I'm out. 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 So I stayed up the rest of the morning and I had class and I'm like, I can't focus because I had no sleep, Fucking demons are trying to get me. And I told my friends who lived not in the dorms, but in the houses behind the dorms. Those those tiny houses behind the dorms near the school. And I was like, hey, I'm pretty sure a demon was there in my room and I couldn't move and all this. And they were so understanding. They were like, listen, you can sleep with us tonight in our house. They were so sweet. They were like, you can sleep with us tonight at our house. You ain't got to worry about a thing. We'll take care of you. I was like, thank you. So I stayed over the night on my 19th birthday at their place because I was terrified. I was so scared. But it was awesome. I had fun.
I from my understanding with sleep paralysis, it is very common to see that shadow figure is because your mind has woken up from sleep. Your body has yet to wake up, so you're still kind of like dreaming, sleeping, and then you're immobile because your body has. Yep, and so you're supposedly hallucinating that supposed shadow figure. But my understanding, even those who know that they have sleep paralysis, who wake up knowing that they're in sleep paralysis, still get freaked out by that shadow figure.
Oh yeah, my thing is I never had sleep paralysis before. I don't think I've ever had it again after that point. That was like a first experience. And it wasn't until much later when I was a lot older, they're like, I think it was in psychology, my psychology class. There was like a disorder with people who have sleep paralysis. And I'm just like, oh, that's what it is. I had sleep paralysis. Although I hope I never have it again because that thing freaked me the fuck out. But I was like, yeah. Yep. That's my personal experience of, I guess it's not necessarily horror, but shit, man, that's fucking scared me. I was like, there's demons. I'm going to die. And I said my final prayers and everything. I was like, good Lord. But, yeah. I don't think I've had any other experiences. Like you said, I do know some witches who are very, like, super sweet, very kind to me and did me no harm. But I'm talking about, like, the brujas. You know what I mean? Like, the scary ones. But I don't think I have any ones.
Baba Yagas and such.
Yeah. Any stories like that. I don't think I've ever had a story with me personally and a bruja or a witch or cursed of any kind, so thank God for that. But I do have another story, which is not me but my parents or my mom. And a Luigi board.
Oh God, not the Luigi.
So I went to visit my sister, last weekend, and they had the Ouija board, in a toy store, right? Those old plastic Ouija boards. And I'm gonna call it a Luigi board because it makes me feel better. I'm not gonna call its name to invoke spirits or whatever. So it's funny to see those because my mother was always like, don't you dare touch that. Don't you dare, play with that. Even if you think it's a game, it's not a game. And I was like, what do you mean? So when we were older, I don't know if it was her or my uncle, right, who had that experience with the Luigi board, where theirs was, I think, an actual, Ouija board or Luigi board. And they were playing with it in the dark. And I remember the story because she was in telling it, my mom was so scared, And she was like, and again, my family is very, very religious. They do believe their spirits exist, of course, and demons exist. I do believe that too. So she was like, they were playing with the Ouija board because, everyone's like, oh, it's just a game. It's funny. What's a game? And this was in Aruba, I believe. It's just a game. Nothing bad could happen. They had candles lit, they said, and they were, in a room. And when they were playing, of course, the little planchette, I think is what it's called.
Yes, is the little disc.
Yeah, the little triangle disc thing with the glass. It started actually moving on its own. They were so freaked out, and you're supposed to, was it close the door or whatever? But, like, to close the door to the spirits. But they said when they were playing, they tried to, and the Luigi board started levitating. It just shot straight up in the air. They were so scared, so terrified, that because they were not playing seriously, right? And they were so scared, and she wouldn't tell me. She was like, that was an evil spirit right there. It wasn't a ghost. It was an evil spirit, and we freaked out. I don't know if I don't know if she ever like closed the gate to the spirit world or whatever, but they ran. They fucking ran. I'm like, all right, okay then. I ain't touching the Luigi board. You ain't gotta tell me that story again, because she sounded so scared, and I don't think my uncle would ever talk about it because it was just scared. And they're like, no, yeah, evil exists. Yep, they're spirits. Don't fuck with spirits. And I was like, okay, I ain't fucking with no spirits. Nah, not me. Too scared. So yeah, Luigi boards. I can see how cute they try to make them and all of that stuff in the toy stores, but you ain't getting me. Oh hell no.
Yeah. When I worked at retail, my final Halloween working there, we did get Luigi boards in. We got several in. And like I opened that box up, I put that box down, I looked at my supervisor and I told her, I'm like, I'm not touching that box. That box can stay right there. I'm not touching it. I don't give two flying fucks what you think about it or me about it, but I'm not touching it. And I walked away.
I mean, I just like, I ain't, no, having no contact. It's funny because, again, as I was visiting my sister, my cousin with her little girl was there. And then we went to the toy store that had like just a bunch of board games. It was like a game store, right? But it had board games, card games, such like that. And there was a Ouija board. I was joking, but the freak out was so funny because my cousin freaked out because I was like, hey, Mia, the little girl.
Oh my God, no.
Why did you tell your mom to get that game? And I pointed to the Ouija board. And she's like, okay. She's like, Mom, can we get that game? And my cousin screams. I can't do scary noises with that. So my cousin screams, no! Don't touch it! Don't look at it! Don't even say its name! And I was laughing. My sister and I were dying because it was such a... I mean, it's an understandable reaction from her, We're very religious. Like, we don't fuck with spirits. No. And she's like, don't ever speak its name. Don't ever, like, touch it. Don't ever ask me again to play with it. And I was like, first of all, don't punish her. Punish me. I'm the one who told her to do it. And
You're such a troll to your cousin.
I know. I love it. And I'm the auntie, of course, that would make my little niece do all these mischievous things, And I was like, Sophia, don't get mad at her. It's me, Just teach her why it's bad. Because around that time, I knew it was bad. And she said, just teach her why it's bad. But don't punish her. Punish me, because I'm having the greatest time while laughing, me and my sister. And my sister was pregnant. And she's like, stop. I'm going to pee all over myself if you keep, like, making me laugh while pregnant. And I'm like, oh, God. It was so funny. I was singing the story. But, yeah, that funny story led me to tell you of my parents, my mom's horror story with Ouija boards. Because, as funny as it is, I would never play it. And no way are you bringing that shit into my house. Hell no. I am not going to have that at all in my house. Okay? I just I already think my house is haunted.
Girl, how can your house be haunted?
My house was made in like the 60s maybe? But I think it's between 1940s and 1960s. I know that. It's old. Our house is old. And you can tell by the layout. It's just old. My cat will literally, it's not even for a fly or anything. He will just stare near the hallway where our bedrooms are. He will sit there and he will meow. And I'm like, he doesn't speak, he doesn't say a lot. He doesn't meow a lot. So I'm like, oh, you're talking to your friend? All right, have at you. Keep talking to him. I'm like, Spirit, if you like my cat, just treat him with respect. He seems to like you a lot. Whatever. And it's funny because Doc, my dog, will look over for a little while. And he's like, okay, there's a person there. And then just chill. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure my house might be haunted. The spirit seems nice, but, there's that.
Are you sure it's not a bug?
I know it's not a bug.
I just want to make sure that it's not a bug.
It's because if it was a bug or a fly or something, Opie would actually try and catch it. He'll jump on the wall, or like eyes will dart around. No. He will just chill in the hallway. He'll look up at the wall or like out in the hallway where the bathroom is, and he'll just start meowing. And I'm like, I don't know who you're talking to, but just know that we're on good terms, me and my cat, okay? We're good people. We ain't doing no harm. No harm whatsoever. That's why I'm so scared to find another old house. Because I'm like, what if this is a ghost house? Like, I have to burn sage.
Get the fuck out! It's your house!
I was like, I gotta burn sage or something. But if I like the house, I don't want to leave. I like the house.
Then kick the ghost out. It's not that hard. Kick him out.
But yeah, so what about you? Those are like some things I'm like, okay. Yeah. Spirits.
So, I don't know. I think we're getting close to where we should probably go ahead and tell that final story.
Okay. Wait, I want to see if there's one more story that I have.
I mean, there's Sloss Furnace, which is a steel mill in Birmingham, Alabama.
That shit's haunted. Oh, hell no.
It's a very, very lovely place. I have been there for food festivals. I've been there for actually a play production. A local troupe in Birmingham did Romeo and Juliet there. It was fantastic. It was a lot of fun. They kind of made it a lot more modern. It was really fun. They interact because it was a surround theatrical experience. We would have actors come in from behind the audience and come in. Yeah. I know one of the actresses came up. She knew who the audience member was. She came up, sat down in his lap. She was wearing this bright-ass red lipstick, which she always worked very well.
Yeah.
Kissed this guy, big old wet kiss on his face, and just left a big, huge lip print on him.
Oh my
I have been there for art exhibits. My mother is an art teacher, or was an art teacher, so she went there for metal pouring, aluminum pouring, and stuff.
Okay.
So, because it's still a minor active steel mill, or a smelting mill. My mom has been there for archaeological digs. There are every year in October, except for this year because fuck COVID, is it's a haunted house.
Yes, and again, I don't want to fuck with it. Why would they do that? I'm pretty sure Sloss Furnace is
to add to
haunted.
The experience. It adds to the experience, but it is one of the
my ass.
Oh, calm the fuck down. They're not gonna touch you, unlike Aatrox.
Okay,
In
okay.
Sloth,
No. First of all, explain what is Sloss Furnace.
it's a furnace. It's a steel mill. What a steel mill is where they would mine and process steel and refine it and other valuable metals.
Yeah, it's located in a city where back then that
Birmingham.
was in Birmingham. Back then where it was known for what was it? It's steel. Where it's called, was it the Iron City or something like that?
It's called the Magic City because when the steel mill came up, it is kind of like a what is it, like a boom city out in the
Yeah.
west. Like the gold towns that popped up for gold mining, they popped up because this is a very resourceful area. They would die out very quickly. They'd pop up very quickly, die very quickly.
Yeah.
But Magic City popped up very quickly, very magically, so it's called the Magic City. It's right next to Red Mountain, or like Birmingham's mostly on Red Mountain. Sloss Furnace is next to Red Mountain. Red Mountain is called Red Mountain because it has a lot of iron in it. Thus, when it rusts or oxidizes, it turns red.
Mm-hmm.
I personally believe a lot of steel mills, regardless of how old they are very likely haunted. Sloss is just a very unique, very interesting, and an extremely old furnace.
Yeah.
Because my grandfather was a steel mill worker, and he has seen people die very violently because of the work condition.
Right.
And not just like it's like the building wasn't safe. It's a very dangerous job. You have molten metal working around you constantly.
Yeah.
And accidents happen. My grandfather, who's now passed, has seen very, very horrible things that happen there. So it would make sense that Sloss, probably along with every other steel mill there is, it's haunted. And very actively haunted, to the point where it is a very hot, like, paranormal research checkpoint. Like, anyone, a lot of local ghost hunting groups, a lot of very internationally famous and popular ghost hunting groups. I know Ghost Hunters International, both individually went there a couple of times. I know Ghost Adventures has been there. I think Ghost Labs, when Discovery was still doing Ghost Labs, did go there as well. And each and every one of those brings back a different experience and documented recording.
Shit, Alabama ain't got much, but they do got them ghosts. That's all they got. Freaking ghosts. But do you want to go ahead and tell your last story? Your last spooky story. Hello? Abby? She disappeared. Abby, can you hear me?
The ghost got me!
Oh god, that's so... Don't fucking leave me alone when I was spooky! How dare! How dare!
Okay, so...
Alright, yeah, final story. That was scary. Scary.
So scary. In Alabama, there is a city, actually fairly close to where you grew up.
Yeah.
And in an area where my mom had friends, I guess.
City, I would say city is a strong word. Let's put it there. City is a strong word.
So to say, city is a strong word for a lot of locations in Alabama.
Yeah. It's not even a town. It's just there.
It's there. It exists.
It exists.
It is called Eolin. And welcome to Alabama. We got a bunch of weird fucking city names. So it's called Eolin. There's like an Eolin church.
Yes.
And
Eolin church.
this is what my mom told me, is that she had this experience in the 1980s, like very early 1980s, like
Yes.
82, no later than 83. She went with several friends. So this was already a very empty location, even
I
way back then.
I was about to say, I looked up Eolan, Alabama. It is literally just a community. It doesn't even get a town. It's just a community. That's how small it is. But it is important because like everyone knows where Eolan is because of the story.
Right. Especially those who live fairly close to Eolan, and those like who are in my mother's age range who grew up in Alabama know about them.
Yes.
Because a lot of people would go for this experience. And not like 8 cars would pile up and drive out there. No, it was like a max of 2 cars
Yeah.
allowed to go at a time kind of experience. Too many people would scare the spirits away. And so if you don't know the experiences of driving down a country road in the middle of the night, it is fucking scary. It is terrifying. Because there's nothing around but trees and your demons.
And your demons.
So mom tells me that she went down this obviously country back road in the 80s, so it's even more deserted than it is now and even darker. Turns off at this intersection and goes down. And they drive slowly. And she went, I think, with her sister, maybe 2 of their high school friends. And there was a car behind them filled with guys. A couple of guys. Maybe 4 guys, I think. Maybe 3.
Right.
So she drives down this dirt road at this point. This gravel road. And comes to this kind of intersection-esque area. And there's a cross there. I think she says they stop and they see it. And I think the guys behind her told her, it's like, oh, you need to go right for like half a mile and then park your car and get out, like, so that your lights and engines don't scare the ghost.
Yeah.
And then you walk probably about 500 feet or so past your car so you can get like kind of out of this clearing and stuff. And there would be this kind of hill, this ridgy area, complete darkness. And I believe like the second car had followed them, pulled up and things like that. And they're told to wait. Everybody's waiting. And suddenly on the ridge is this light. This orb of light that floats down. It just follows the ridge. And then suddenly it comes down the hill towards them and sways back and forth, comes down, and it gets to the bottom of the hill and disappears.
Yeah.
It freaks everybody out, and they run back to their cars, they hop back in, they go back, and they pass the cross that's turned upside down while they were gone. And they haul ass out of there.
Haul ass! I ain't dealing with no spirits.
And everybody knows about the Eolan light.
Is the Eolan light. I know of the Eolan light because Eolan is literally 8 miles, at least on what the sign says, 8 miles away from where I live. So it's very close to where I live. And of course, and the area where I live, everyone knows it's Eolan light. They go out every so often to see if they can find it. And I know you said this was a story in the 80s, right?
Yeah. That's when my mom thinks she went and saw that. It was no later than 83 that she saw this.
Right. And I have had experiences where we would go and try and find it ourselves. We never got to see it, because a lot of people say that there are a select few who can see it, and then there are times where you can't. You know, ghost just doesn't come every day. You know, they
Right.
come when they want to, is what we were told, right?
Right.
So you can catch it or you can miss it or all this stuff. So I missed it. I never got to saw it. My sister tried with her group of friends and they missed it as well. Um, but the people who dragged us to go see it, they saw it. That's why they wanted to bring more people just to make sure like
Mhm.
it's not a fake or whatever. So it's funny to think about because like in a small town, what else are you gonna do? Might as well go ghost hunting.
Right. I mean, like, there is nothing else. Like, I would rather go ghost hunting than monster hunting,
I
honestly.
mean, seriously, it just but yes. So the reason why I bring this up is because everyone in that area, Central Alabama, would know of the Eolin Light.
Yes.
All right, so continue. Or is that everything?
There's
Yeah, go ahead.
that is everything with that, but I know why you never got to see it. Is because it's a hoax.
Yep. Wait, hold on. I
The
gotta stop the
old
spooky lights, the spooky sounds. It's a hoax.
It's a hoax. My mom was really good friends with the hoaxers. Um is that it what she told me, and it cracks me up to this day because I have met this man. I know this man. He was very good friends with my grandmother.
Yeah.
Um it's like he's closer to my mom's age, but it's like he's a minister. My grandmother is a very religious woman, and so they got along very, very well. She has been to his conferences. His name is Scott Dawson. And his buddy, she told me it's two guys. His buddy is, I'm looking it up. I told her that you knew about the Olin Light.
Oh yeah, it was
Let's
literally
see
it's like
here.
a urban legend that passed
Mhm.
around the area that I lived. And everyone's like, "Oh, we got
Yes.
to go check it out because it's so close and all this stuff."
Bless you. Bless
Excuse
you.
me. So yeah, everyone's like, "Oh yeah, the Eolin Light and all this." So of course I heard it. Of course, you know, the legend is passed down from generation to generation. Now how if I guess cuz now they prove that it's a hoax. I'm not sure if people nowadays would know of it, like our younger generation.
Right, because it doesn't happen. They're in their 60s now. It's
Yeah,
Scott
you can't
Dawson
do
and
it.
Craig Boggin were the main ones my mother told me that did this.
Right.
Um, because what it was is that while the group in the first car and the dummies, the distractors in the second car, the guys in the second car would walk with the first group, and the group that is unsuspecting, one of the guys would go back and flip the cross and come back,
Yeah.
and the other would be up on the hill with the light.
I'm so
And so,
mad.
what traditionally was supposed to happen, according to my mother, the light was just supposed to walk along the edge of the hill.
Right.
The reason why it came down
Hello?
the hill
Oh
towards
yeah.
them is because the guy who was carrying the light fell down the hill and still held the light up towards them
Oh
so they could
my
see
gosh.
it. So he felt like rolled down the hill and slid down the hill.
That's amazing. It's funny to think because, like, we all know of the urban legend of the Eolin Light.
Mhm.
And, like, they're like, oh, some can see it, some can't, you know. You just
Yep.
have to be lucky.
Yep.
It's so funny to think about. But yes, those are the ghost stories. I have more, but,
Right.
like, I'm just like, some of them are, like, can be disproved by science or psychology in my case, like the, what is it? Sleep paralysis? Thank goodness for science. Um, and others like the Luigi boards, I will not touch
Yes.
because and I will straight
Ooh.
up say, I personally, and thank goodness, I have never experienced demonios or demons at all.
Mhm.
Um, but I know for a fact my parents have because they were pastors, you know.
Mhm.
So we've dealt with stuff like that. And that's why I'm like, When everyone's like, "Oh, do you believe in angels and demons?" Yes, I do. Oh, yes.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh. Do I believe in spirits? Yes, I do. I don't mess with them. I just like I acknowledge that they exist.
Mhm.
You do you. I'm gonna do me. I'm gonna be good people. you know, I'm
Yep.
gonna say my, I was like, I'm gonna just keep saying my prayers. You know, bless God and all that, or God bless me
Mhm.
and all that, because like I
Mhm.
ain't dealing with that. And everyone's like, "Oh, Ricey, why don't you go ghost hunting, or why don't you go spirit like let's contact the spirits?" Bitch, no, I'm not going to do that. I I know they exist. I don't need to be proven that they exist. I know they exist. I just don't want. Keep them away from me. Keep them away from me. That's all I'm gonna say. Just keep the. Let me do me. I'm gonna do me. I'm gonna do me. And I know for a fact, eventually, and I know this. I can feel it. Eventually, I'm gonna be in my own horror movie with a bunch of stupid friends who wanted to go. Because like in college, there is the Bryce Hospital at the University of Alabama that is an asylum very close to the university that is closed down. And when I was in school in the university, they're like, let's go ghost hunting. Because students happened to break into the old Bryce Hospital, and it is haunted.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
and I remember one Halloween, or like week of Halloween or whatever, Friday, it was a Friday. They're like, why don't we go to Bryce Hospital, a freaking asylum, see if we can see ghosts? I walked down the end of the driveway. It's like, all right, you're on your own. And they're like, what? I was like, I ain't dealing with no spirits. I mean, I know they exist. I ain't gotta be proven or disproven that ghosts exist. Y'all do you. Ghosts or spirits or demons or angels. Yeah, you do you. You go ahead and go in. And they're like, Ricey. And I'm like, nah, you can't tempt me. You cannot tempt me. I'm Latina. And in every horror movie, if I agree to something that stupid, then I'm gonna die.
Did.
I'm dead. I'm not a final girl. I'm not. I'm not the final girl. So I'm just like,
Actually, speaking of Bryce Hospital, there's a local, like, little amateur paranormal investigators, little ghost hunting crew. Um, and one of the members is the owner of a local comic book shop. And they have been to Bryce Hospital with permission to document their anything that they find.
mm-hmm.
And he told me and showed me evidence of something that was following them.
Yep. Nope. 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 Nope.
He
Nope.
kept hearing things behind him, so he just, and when he turned around, nothing's there. So he kept walking and heard it again and pulled, like kind of put his camera just a little over his shoulder and snapped a picture, and there is something there that has to bend over to get through a door.
Nope. 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 No. Listen, guys. I know how exciting ghost hunt, and there are curious people, and good on them for having
Mhm.
bravery and courage to want to go out and see the spirits or communicate with spirits, because curiosity, right? And you want
Find
now
answers.
it's the knowledge you want to
Mhm.
know. You just got to know. Good on you. I'm in
Nope.
that situation. I know what comes out of it, and I'm just like, I'm good. I'm good. I don't have to deal with that. No, you know, good on you. Um, I will say also, because it's Halloween and I'm Latina, we do Dia de los Muertos. We celebrate those who've passed. Uh, I don't think my mom is going to be visiting me at all. However, it's nice to be like, oh, she's thinking about me from the great beyond. I have to do like the ofrenda, all of that stuff for her for
Mhm.
today. But I also know my mom, and again, we are very religious. So the whole concept of Dia de los Muertos to us isn't like, we never really celebrated it because at the time we really didn't lose anybody. But they're like, nah, they're probably chilling in heaven. Why the heck would she ever want to come down from there just to tell me hi, So I'm just like, peace up. spirits, just this is you do you. I ain't messing with no spirits, man. Nah, man. Ugh. But yes,
So,
that's
question:
yes.
what do you think of the eel and light now that you know
When you
it's?
told me, I remember when you told me at work, I'm like, of course it's a fucking sham. My whole life is a lie. Because everybody talked about it. Everybody talked about it, you know?
Mhm.
And it's so funny because even my parents knew about it.
Mhm.
Even my parents knew about the Eolin light. And I'm just
Yep.
like, because me and my sister, we talked about it, and of course their local friends talked about it and all that. And again, we were religious. We don't deal with spirits. My parents hated the thought of us going out there to find it. You know what I mean? They hated it. They're like, nah, nah, nah. But we did it anyway because we're stupid. And what else are you going to do in a small town? But now that I know it's a sham, my entire life is a lie.
Yep.
But I'm glad it was a lie because if it was real, I would have died first. I mean, I am not final girl material. Oh, man. Shoot. What about you? I mean, I know we're rounding out the corner of the end of the stream, but would you want to do that? Would you want to do like spooky horror ghost stuff? I know just like me, you won't touch a Luigi board, but like,
Who no.
yeah.
It is a complicated situation. Like, because I like you believe in angels and demons. I know demons exist. I know demons can touch me and harm me if
Yes.
I put myself in a situation that allows them to. I would never touch Bryce Hospital
Nope.
ever.
Nope.
Nope. Like,
Nope.
especially after seeing that photo, because that's not like, oh yeah, I guess I can see something in that. No, like
Oh,
there was something
hell no.
fucking there in that photo.
I know I
Um,
feel like I know exactly who you're talking about. And yet
mhm.
I'm like, why would he ever do that? Why would you do that? You're ridiculous to do like I just God, it blows my mind how brave these people can be. Cause they are okay walking with the spirits. And I'm like, nah, none for me, please, thank you.
like
I'm good.
like I no, I cannot guarantee. I believe that my guardian angel protects me from all things evil,
Yes.
but I'm like I do not want to tempt my guardian angel, especially if I want to see results. Like I want to see something there. I'm like, no, I can't let myself do that.
Yeah.
But like Slaw's Furnace, there's never been any kind of reports of anything very malicious at Slaw's Furnace, just very tragic and very
Yeah.
bold
I was about to say,
experiences. And I'm like, I might do parts of Slaw's Furnace just because it's like I know that those are likely actual ghosts and not demons.
yeah, true. Same,
But
I
I
would say same with the asylum or Bryce Hospital because I think those would be actual spirits considering, you know, at the time people be cray. So you're going to
yeah.
see like a lot of confused ghosts that really don't understand what's going on. That could be a thing. However, I will never go in with my friends. I was just like, I remember in college, I was like, I'm going to stay back here or else I'm going to die.
Yeah.
I ain't dealing with that.
I I like ghost hunters and a lot of like the big televised like ghost adventure kind of people have done Halloween specials at what is called the Waverly Hospital or the
Mhm.
Waverly Estate, and it's a tuberculosis hospital.
Yeah.
And so it's like it's a big team. They have like people come in 2 days ahead of time, set up the cameras, everything like that. Everybody is physically pulled out of the location except for the actual ghost hunters, things like that. And then they have a crew manning the cameras from like home base, and then they have ghost hunters that are in different separate locations so they're not interfering with one another. If I were to do any kind of ghost hunting like that on a questionable location like Bryce or like Waverly, it would be a situation like that, and I'm at home base. I'm
Yeah. Oh,
not.
yeah.
Mm-mm. not touching anything like
You
that.
know, speaking of ghosts, we need to play a game of like a ghost hunting game called Phasmophobia. I know it's like a big thing now. Everyone's playing
Ooh,
Phasmophobia, but it's a
yeah.
ghost hunting game. I think we would like that because that to me, I'm in the comfort of my own home knowing that this is a fictional game. These ghosts aren't real. It's just a game. And you'll see how much of a pussy I really am.
Is that
Just
what you're
saying.
going to be playing tonight?
I so I was thinking that or what was it, the new game? What was it? Little Hope? Which is like a
I have
Man in the
not heard of
Van.
Little Hope.
It's involves the Salem witch trials, which is interesting.
Oh.
So, but yeah, um, but again, I actually have a list of scary games that I don't know what I'm going to play yet.
Okay.
I just have to be in a mood, and I don't know what to do. I don't know what to play. But anyway, I'm okay with ending the podcast here.
I think we did a
We
really good amount.
Yes.
Had some spooky stories.
It was
Had
so good. And the history and like certain like Alabama ghosts and stuff.
yes.
I will say next week is going to be the most terrifying, anxiety-inducing week for all of us. Because it is voting week. For
For
the
the
US of
United
A.
States.
For the US
Yes.
of the good old US of A. So I know it's going to be very stressful. We'll try and do something a little lighthearted. Because I know it's going to be a very stressful week, but we haven't talked about it yet. But we'll talk about, we'll figure something out. But I hope you guys stay safe out there. Again, it's going to be a very intense week for some of you. Don't forget to take a step back, take a break. Be with the people you love.
We maybe read some ghost stories.
Maybe read some ghost stories. Eat leftover candy because that's what's important. It's not the 31st. It's November 1st when you can eat all the discounted candy.
Yep.
That's what's important. But until then, guys, I hope you have a fantastic Halloween. We'll end up with this spooky thing. Have a ghostly Halloween. Ooh. All right. Y'all have a good one. You want to say bye? All right. Bye.